Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of World Press Photo. Welcome to the 2011 award ceremony. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you all here with us tonight. An evening where we celebrate last year's top events in photojournalism. And I would like to extend a special welcome to His Royal Highness Prince Constantijn, who is the patron of our organization, and Her Royal Highness Prince Laurentien, who honor us with their presence here. And also I would like to thank our live musicians who have done a fantastic job of accompanying such a wide range of photographs with their music. Michael Wolf, Mola Silla and Harman Farnia. Thank you very much. And now I would like to ask all the winning photographers to join me here on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the winners of the World Press Photo 2011. The awards will be handed out by David Burnett, the chair of this year's jury, and by Pieter Broertjes, the chair of the supervisory board of World Press Photo. Please join me on stage as well.
Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and now we are proud to present the winners of the 2011 World Press Photo Contest. In the first category, Sports, the winners are Chris Keulen, third prize, Stories. Singles. Mike Hutchins, first prize, singles. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners in the category Sports. The next category is Daily Life. Mes Nissen. Fernando Moleiras, second prize. Stories. Martin Roemers, first prize. Andrew Biraj, third prize, singles. Malte Jäger, second prize, singles. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of Daily Life. In the category Portraits, the winners are Kenneth O'Halloran, 3rd prize, Stories. Wolf Rohan, 2nd prize, Stories. Andrew McConnell, 1st prize, Stories. Guyan Bayer, 3rd prize, Singles. Joost van den Broek, 2nd prize, Singles. Jody Bieber, 1st prize, Singles. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of Portraits. For Arts and Entertainment, the winners are Amit Shah, 3rd prize, Stories. Daniela Tamagni, 2nd prize, Stories. Amit Makeshia, 1st prize, Stories. Davide Monteleone, 2nd prize, Singles. Andrew McConnell, 1st prize, Singles. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of Arts and Entertainment. In the category Nature, the winners are Benjamin Lowy, 1st prize, Stories. Reinhard Discher, 2nd prize, Singles. Thomas Peschak, 1st prize, Singles. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of Nature. In the category Temporary Issues, the winners are Michael Wolf, Honorable Mention, Stories. Sarah Elliott, 3rd prize, Stories. Ed Wu, 1st prize, Stories. Ivo Saglietti, 3rd prize, Singles. Marco Di Lauro, 1st prize, Singles. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of Contemporary Issues. The next category is General News, and the winners are Fernando Brito, 3rd prize, Stories. Massimo Berruti, 2nd prize, Stories. Alban Maté, first prize, stories. Guang Yu, second prize, singles. Ricardo Venturi, first prize, singles. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of General News. In the category Spot News, the winners are Lu Wang, third prize, stories. Corentin Colin, second prize, stories. Danielle Morel, first prize, stories. Uwe Weber, third prize, singles. Danielle Morel, second prize, singles. Peter Lakatos, first prize, singles. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of Spot News. And now to tonight's final category for people in the news, the winners are Philip Schwick, third prize, stories. Kemal Hufri, second prize, stories. Danielle Biruulak, first prize, stories. Vincent Hugh, third prize, singles. Seamus Murphy, second prize, singles. Altaf Kadri, first prize, singles. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of People in the News.
Congratulations to you all. Let's take this opportunity to take one group picture. So if we all squeeze in a little bit and try to make 3 rows, I think we should be able to do that. Peter, please join us as well. David. Take the group picture. Well, thank you, photographers. Please stay with us here on the stage and take a seat at the rafters. Peter, thank you very much for your assistance. And David, please stay with us for a little while. Every year at the awards ceremony, the spotlight is on the photographers and on their work. And each year has brought new trends and new developments. And since we at World Press do our utmost to keep up with the changing world, no two ceremonies are the same. And this year is no exception. We started with the introduction of a grant for a special personal photography project that we jointly initiated with Maurice Lacroix, who became the sponsor of this year's award ceremony. A grant for a photographic essay that will raise awareness, give food for thought, enlighten us and inspire. All of this year's World Press Photo winners have been invited to submit a project proposal for the so-called Follow Your Convictions grant. 25 did so, and the selection committee formed by Nicole Abbey, former director of Lookat, the photographers Philippe Dudoyer and Daniel Swartz, myself and Martin Bachmann convened in Zurich to discuss and decide upon the recipient. It's a pleasure to invite on stage the CEO of Maurice Lacroix, Martin Bachmann, to announce the winner of this year's grant.
Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear winners, a very good evening to you. First of all, I would like to thank Michael Muleke and his team for welcoming Maurice Lacroix as the official watch partner of tonight's World Press Photo Awards ceremony. But what has a Swiss luxury watch brand in common with the world's most prestigious photo contest, you might ask? Isn't ours an industry where glamour, beauty, at times ostentation, or even a certain superficiality are key words? Probably so, but all the more reason for Maurice Lacroix to be different. We are a contemporary Swiss watch brand that targets consumers with a modern lifestyle and substance. These are people who are authentic, they look beyond the obvious, they ask questions and reflect on their own choices in life, rather than merely chasing status symbols or following the mainstream powered by big marketing dollars. In short, they follow their convictions. And exactly this absolute need to follow your convictions to achieve the outstanding results that you are awarded for tonight, we see in you, the photojournalists participating in the World Press Photo Contest. It is thus a great pleasure to be part of this event, and in addition to be able to hand out the first Maurice Lacroix Follow Your Convictions grant worth 20,000 euros, and dare I say, a beautiful watch as well. The grand jury received an amazing number of high-quality proposals. Some silent contemplations, others ambitious, multi-layered international projects, all representing issues of great relevance. Choosing from many outstanding submissions, we unanimously decided for a thoughtful, carefully crafted proposal that is historically rooted, yet contemporary. A concise concept with the potential to highlight a multitude of thematic aspects, allowing for differing visual and technical interpretations. About the winning photographer, the jury says, his language is rich and colorful, and he shows great ability to convey the essence of any subject he chooses. Looking for excellence and high quality, given the complexity of the story proposal and its options. He is the ideal recipient of the very first Maurice Lacroix Follow Your Convictions grant. But let the winner introduce himself and explain his thoughts behind this concept to you personally. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Mr. Davide Monteleone. For his story, Reverse Sea. As a token of our appreciation, we hand over this. Maurice Lacroix.
Thank you. If if you like.
Well, I'm surprised because I really didn't know, so it was really a shock. And well, I cannot say anything except thank you. And well, I'll try to do my best to do the project then.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for your support, and thank you for your presence here with us tonight. And I would also like to mention that not only David receives a watch from Maurice Lacroix, but also all the first prize winners that are here with us tonight. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we start the evening by showing you this year's winning images. The images, of course, speak for themselves, but yet there are stories behind the photographers. There are stories behind the pictures. There are also trends and developments that offer a context for this year's winners. We've asked two laureates, Danielle Morel and Seamus Murphy, and of course David Burnett, the chair of this year's jury, to discuss this year's topics. And here to interview them is a correspondent who has worked for the BBC for more than 20 years and in more than 60 different countries. We recently returned from Libya. Please welcome Mr. Alan Little.
Your Royal Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues, what a treat and a privilege it is for me to be part of this celebration of creative and journalistic excellence and to count some of these distinguished and accomplished practitioners among my colleagues. The three, I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes or so discussing the big issues of our industry, are already well known to you. Please welcome to the stage David Burnett, Danielle Morel and Seamus Murphy. We've got 15 minutes, so let's crack on with it. David, it seems to many people that there's a predominance this year of very representational depictions of gritty, hard reality, the photographer capturing the moment as it happens, as opposed to more carefully crafted, more aestheticized, more composed pictures. Why do you think that is? Is it a reflection of our times, of current trends in photography, or was it a deliberate choice by the jurors?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know that we actually had any sort of blueprint. Obviously, when we started looking, when you're the jury, they throw the pictures at you, so you don't really have a choice other than obviously what you choose. But I think last year was one of those years that had a number of events, as it rather looks like this year will be, where you had a lot of spot news and unpredictable things happening in large numbers to a large number of people. And I think while they may not have that sense of carefully crafted, I think still you would have to look at the pictures, even the more gritty, newsy ones, and see that they were extremely well done in very difficult situations. But I think we were overpowered by those things that were the kind of overpowering events of the year, and I think that there's a certain reflection of that in the winning entries.
One of which, right at the start of the year, Danielle Morel, you were there in the middle of it. There is something extraordinary and indeed possibly unique about the pictures you took. You were there in Port-au-Prince when the earthquake struck right at the start of last year. Just give us a sense of the moment when it happened.
I was up to school photographing children artwork for Facebook. It's about like 5 minutes. I was about ready to leave and walked next door to say goodbye to the director. About the time I was going to turn to go to the door and the thing started with frightening noise, not even shaking. The earth was not shaking. moving like an earthquake, you know. So I was there with my friend, you know, I take a few shots of my friend. When I got out, you know, I didn't even know what was going on in the street, you know.
So you had no sense of the scale of it yet, but you started photographing immediately.
Yes, that's right.
How long did you carry on taking pictures?
During that day, until the sun was down.
And how did the scale of it and the enormity of it dawn on you? How did you catch up with that reality?
At one time, I was really didn't feel anything anymore. I can't even click anymore. You know? So many death and destruction. I was in front of my father's building. I see lots of dead bodies. You know? I didn't even. I just say I don't want to put too much dead bodies in my photo. It was not about dead bodies. You know?
Yeah, most of the people we see in your pictures here anyway are people who have survived, people who are.
Yes, the struggle. And I was one of them.
Eve Arnold once told me a story about when she was living in Mountain Street in Mayfair in London 40 years ago, about getting a call from the New York Times to say that an IRA bomb had gone off very close to where she lived and asked her to go and start taking pictures of the immediate aftermath. And she said she found she couldn't do it because the subjects that she was being asked to capture were her neighbours, and she found herself frozen. You found yourself in that same situation. You must have been worried about your own family, your own property.
No, after a while, you know, when you take so many death, you know, at one time you don't have the courage to do it anymore. You know?
And what about the people who came in after you to take photographs of the aftermath? How do you think Haiti and the consequences of the earthquake were portrayed by the photojournalists who came in, by the journalists generally?
The first moment, I captured the first moment. Whoever come after, they did their work too, but the first moment, that was the most important moment. It's not the same photo after. That's a different story. That's aftermath, you know.
Seamus Murphy, I read a quote from you: photojournalism is not diminishing, but the pressures on photojournalists are changing. There's more expectation to add sound, video, the quality is another matter, and I do worry about that. Why do you worry?
Well, I think we're asked to do a lot of things these days with less resources. And so, you know, a few years ago, you could go on an assignment for a number of days or weeks and actually concentrate on photography and telling the story and getting the facts right. And I think with the rush to do everything on a budget, plus do other multimedia tasks, I think, you know, it's pressure. I mean, I welcome the multimedia thing. I'm doing a little bit myself. I'm really enjoying it. But, you know, as a long-term thing for the industry, I think it's a very unknown world. And I think, you know, we're not competing with amateurs. We're competing with people that have iPhones, Facebook. That's fine. But, you know, what is journalism? Is it someone just taking a picture and putting it out, or is there something more to it? And that's what I fear. I fear that those filters, that intelligence that was there before with editors and publications, and some credibility.
Because we're living in an age of the democratization of the visual image, of the spoken word, and the printed word.
How much you can do?
What do you mean by that? Do you mean quality control?
Not quality control. Well, facts, you know, context, some kind of. It's the speed, I suppose, as well. The speed makes it that. I suppose it's more important to get something out there rather than check it's the right thing.
Talk a little bit about the photograph that you won a prize for here, the picture of Julian Assange. How did you get that? Where was it? What was the circumstance?
It was a press conference after he'd done a debate in universities in London. Funny enough, he banned photographers from going in, but we managed to get in eventually. And it was a very, very odd operation. And you know, he was talking there, he was debating about the freedom of the press and freedom to do press, and we were on the outside to get in. And we eventually got in. And at the very end, I was about to leave, and I just noticed that the cameraman who had a filter over the side of his camera, and I just saw that it looked like a crosshairs or something, and I just thought it might make an interesting image. That was it.
And do you know in the moment you've taken the picture you've got something special? And did you know on this occasion?
Well, I liked it. I mean, I wasn't even going to send it in that entry. Just so you never know. You never know when it's going to win a prize.
This is the people in the news category. It was an extraordinary year for him. He went incognito for a while, and he turned out to be hiding in a club in London full of journalists, so none of us knew. David Burnett, do you share some of the concerns there that Seamus was talking about?
I think what really bothers me is to see the diminishing resources which are allotted for magazine and newspaper work. It's really, compared to 5 or 10 years ago, where you could, everything it wasn't even a handshake business, it was a phone call business. Somebody would ring you up and, can you go to Pakistan tomorrow? And off you go for weeks, perhaps. And those kind of resources just do not exist anymore. They've been taken out of print for the most part and aimed at the internet or television or some other source. And I think the really unfortunate thing is that everybody now kind of feels an obligation to try and do it on the cheap. And in the end, to really cover the world, we need to be there. And the sort of flip side of the democratization is that you have a lot of really good photographers who have grown up in the last generation and who don't just live in London, Amsterdam, Paris, and New York. They live in all kinds of places where traditionally you didn't have a lot of really good photographers. So to that extent, and I think you see that a lot both in the entries and the winning entries in World Press. That's been very gratifying to see people from countries that previously were not represented have winning entries, which means that the level of work is really up there. But I worry that there are certain standards which those of us who are old enough to remember what wanting to be a journalist was about, and kind of obligation that came along with that to provide backup or make it a real story, make it a true story. Those are the things that are kind of slipping in this slippery age that we live in.
And what did you see this year as you were going through the entrance about the way in which the boundaries of what constitutes or what defines photojournalism are being pushed forward, partly by the possibilities opened up by new technology?
Right, and actually from a technical point of view, I found the most astounding thing was to see stories in which you had pictures taken at night and you could see the stars. That never existed until maybe this year with the last generation of cameras. And it's kind of interesting. It's like, there's a night shot, and it actually looks like what it looks like at night, stars and people. And that is, in a way, a little sign of it. But to me, the most interesting, I don't know if you could say it was a trend or not. It's probably been going for a long time. But the most interesting work for me and what I saw this year is work that is started by and initiated by the photographers. It's not necessarily an assignment from a big magazine or a newspaper, though there were certainly some of those. But most of the work that really, for me, kind of rang the bell were things that you could tell it was a photographer who decided that's a story I want to cover, and they're investing their own time and resources to try and make it happen.
I mean, everybody here is following their conviction, just to pick up on that, the name of that grant, and that is where the best photography comes from, is it?
To my way of thinking, that's definitely it. People are not just, we all try and get assignments for something that we think will be a good story, but what really matters is when you invest yourself, and it starts kind of in your own heart and soul and goes from there.
There's one very striking entry here tonight, the Google Earth images. That's not, strictly speaking, photography at all, in a way. It's very close to conceptual art. Is the boundary between photojournalism and conceptual art blurring, or is it a fake distinction?
Well, for me, I thought the interesting thing about it was like, it's as if somebody's tapping us on the shoulder to remind us that there are plenty of cameras out there that are not manned by a photographer. And there are, whether it's closed circuit TV, security cameras, there are just 1 million cameras now, or maybe 10 million, that are taking pictures that previously, you would have had to have a photographer to take a picture, and the world is not like that anymore. And, as the good and the bad of all the technical advancement, that's, I think, one of the things that this little set of pictures of Michael Wolff reminds us of, that we're not in charge of everything anymore.
Seamus, all of us around this table are men of a certain age. We come from a different era, really, in a way, and we have to keep pace with what's happening. What are you doing personally to keep pace with the way in which technology is pushing the boundaries and creating new possibilities and confronting us with new challenges?
Well, I never really had a contract with anyone. I've always lived by my wits, and I just, I just.
Are you doing it differently now, than just say 10 years
Well,
ago?
I've been making films recently. I've been making films with a digital SLR. Beyond that, I'm still doing what I always did. I've always done personal projects. What I'm finding now is that before I would get assignments and my personal projects, and now my personal projects are kind of what I'm doing, and then I try and sell them. And that's very tough. So, more personal work.
Daniel, let me put to you something that you said after Haiti. People say my pictures are negative, but I want to show people the way things really are. Isn't that what all these photographs do? Show the way things really are, but using different techniques, different methods.
Yeah, but my photograph provoke. Because when people see me on the street, people with money, they tell me, I only show the country dirty, I only show the bad part of the country. And my response to the clean it. Yeah, if the garbage is in front of the house, I take the picture of it. You saw the picture. Pick it up next time when I come. I will have a nice picture in front of your house.
Shoot the messenger, yeah. Let me ask you all one last question. Let's go around in this direction. Is, from what we've seen tonight and what you've seen as chairman of the jury here, is photojournalism, despite the challenges it faces, despite the problems of money, the challenges of new technology, is it in good health as a means of communicating truth to the world? Daniel?
Yes.
Are you optimistic?
Yes.
You want to say more than that?
For me, digital
Digital.
is a miracle in photojournalism. Internet is another miracle. If it was not for internet and digital camera, I would not be sitting in this level.
Why?
He just said, after the first morning, no time for him to go.
You didn't put your photographs out there. You kind of lost control of them for a while, didn't you?
Yeah,
You lost ownership of them.
I didn't know what happened. When you put a picture on the web, it's just like shooting a bullet.
And you don't know what becomes of it.
Yes.
Seamus?
Yeah, I think photojournalism will always survive. It's like literature, you're not going to stop it. It's whether it's healthy, whether there's an industry, whether it's whether it's well supported. That's the big question, but it's always going to survive.
David?
I've been around long enough to have heard photojournalism is dead any number of times, and every time that it seems to be in some sort of cardiac situation, people rediscover the value of photography and still photography. I think the image is still there, it's still powerful, and we saw some great multimedia stuff this weekend, but I wouldn't say it's time to kind of roll everything out and forget the still image. It remains. In the words of John Derniak, one of my long time ago editors, said, pound for pound, the photojournalist is the most efficient and dynamic information gathering machine there is. And I don't think that's changed.
Well, what a way to end. We're going to take a short break now, 20 minutes. There are two things I have to ask of you. If you plan on leaving the building during the 20-minute break, and please be back within 20 minutes, it's 20 to 10 now, back in your seats by 10 if you can, then please, if you're leaving the building, take your invitation, take your ticket with you because you'll need it to get back in. Also, may I ask you please to let their Royal Highnesses, the Prince and Princess, leave the premises first. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank David Burnett, Daniel Morel, Seamus Murphy.
Of information. The annual World Press Photo Contest is is at the core of the organization's activities. This year, a record number of 108,059 images were submitted by 5,691 photographers, representing 125 different nationalities.
In 2010, our exhibitions really went very strong. We had an exciting record number of visitors in our exhibit in Amsterdam. And from a press freedom perspective, we went to some very interesting countries like Zimbabwe, like Morocco. We had a great show with one of our corporate sponsors, TNT, in Kuala Lumpur and Brussels. And also we entered in some new kind of partnerships with CSM, Delta Lloyd and Hannover. But besides that, we had some interesting initiatives which were more like one-off events. For instance, we had a project in the Middle East and North Africa. And it's actually for the first time ever that World Press Photo undertook an initiative to do a workshop only for picture editors. We have a lot of experiences educating photographers, but really reaching out to the picture editors as such is something that we've never done before.
World Press Photo has always been committed to stimulating new developments in photojournalism. For instance, the 2010 project, initiated in 2009 on the African continent and continuing into this year. And last year, the Joop Zwart Masterclass reached a successful 17th edition. The goal of the masterclass is for experienced professionals to share their knowledge with a generation of young, promising photographers. In the meantime, at its Amsterdam headquarters, World Press Photo is looking towards the future.
Well, I'm actually looking very much forward to 2011. First of all, it's a new corporate website, and the leading theme for the whole website is putting photography or presenting photography in context. It is something that is also can be seen as a kind of follow-up from our contest archive that we put online 2 years ago. It's a very rich resource for people to go through historically, photographically. Another initiative that we took is the development of an iPad application. The iPad application for us is important because it's a very relevant development in the field that we are active. Almost every photographer or agency is experimenting with it, and I think the reason why they do so is simply because it's one of the few tools that is perfectly for showing imagery. It's wonderful in terms of the quality of the resolution. It gives you great opportunities to browse and to add elements to the photography that really gives extra information in terms of biographies, in terms of technology. So it's a very powerful tool to show photography in its richest sense, so to speak. Nowadays you see a kind of development that photographers are more into products and they are looking for books, they're looking into multimedia productions. And we sense that World Press Photo has a certain kind of responsibility also to recognize these developments. Therefore, we decided this year to introduce a multimedia contest. It is an adventure, so to speak, for us because it's still a very kind of new territory for everyone.
For World Press Photo's new multimedia contest, a committee of recognized experts nominated more than 40 productions. These productions, in the categories linear and interactive media, entered the judging process.
Well, personally, I'm very excited that the jury, highly qualified professionals, came to Amsterdam not only to award the prizes in the multimedia category, but also with their commitment to really help us forward with this new initiative.
This year, for the first time, World Press Photo presents the Multimedia Contest, aimed at showcasing the best multimedia storytelling in visual journalism. The shortlist: Linear Productions. Blanco, a 4-year journey into the life of the visually impaired. front. Two boys struggle to adjust when their father, a single dad, is deployed to Afghanistan.
My dad is like the only one that I like practically love the most right now.
I know, Isaac, but anything can happen here. Anything can happen anywhere, okay? I get a lot of training, I know what I'm doing, okay? I'm not gonna purposely do anything stupid. You gotta do it, okay? You know, as soon as I get on that plane, the sooner you can stop crying, right? You guys go with Grandma and Grandpa, okay? I love you guys, I will. Keep your chin up.
Man in the forest. A Chinese forest ranger monitoring the Hainan black-crested gibbon.
4点多到5点钟就可能早饭吃完，7点多8点钟就开始睡觉了，很孤寒的，只能这样子，没办法。早期这场地都是做野外的，因为湿度太大，对身体啊、关节啊地方容易就受潮就容易得关节炎啊之类的。只有最辛苦就是我们这次，你就上来你每天在这装山跟踪。 树上的很多果类，它有只有100多种，比如就是介绍几个，豆花、山竹子，还有牛树果啊、布仔叶啊之类的，毛荔枝啊，毛荔枝它最喜欢吃，还有黄铜果，黄铜果还不够熟，它只是吃了一点就走了。
The Shortlist Interactive Productions. Powering a Nation. Energy use across different demographics in the US.
It's gonna be a nightmare like nobody ever saw.
We're in what they call the kill zone.
It's hard to convince a person of something you cannot see.
At this point, my plan has been completely destroyed.
The bottom line is always about money.
Everybody wants a job, a good job.
We really are at a tipping point.
This is the kind of problems this kind of stuff causes between married people.
Prison Valley. The prison industry in Canyon City, Colorado.
If the prison was not here, there would be nothing and nobody, because they have nothing else to offer.
Private prisons make money the longer prisoners stay, and that's why, in fact, they influence the laws that have more people arrested and convicted, and have longer terms when they do get convicted.
A year and more. The year-long deployment of one US battalion in Afghanistan.
You know, our mission is very different.
A lot of women in my shoes have left the military because they couldn't leave their kids.
I just want to be the hero.
The sooner they leave, the soldiers tell themselves, the sooner they'll come home. In between, they'll be gone for a year.
Basically done everything here on this fob that we can do to try to take up time. You can ask anybody else, things get old real quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I please ask on stage the nominees for the multimedia contest. For Blanco, Stefano Di Lucci. For the home front, Marcus Jan. Man in the Forest, Wang Li. And for the non-linear or the interactive category, Lauren Frone for Powering the Nation, Alexandra Brachet for Prison Valley, and Damon Winter for Year-End Awards. Here to announce and present the awards, please welcome Claudine Bouclin, who was a member of the jury of this year's multimedia contest. Claudine.
Good evening, dear community of World Press Photo. I'm extremely pleased, honored, and humbled to be in the position to announce the first ever multimedia contest by World Press Photo. And starting with the linear category, in the name of all the members of the jury and in memory of Tim Everington, who is meant to be one of them, let's make history be now. And the winner is the home front. Second prize goes to Blanco. The third prize is attributed to A Man in the Forest. Now in the interactive category, the winner is Prison Valley. Followed by Power of a Nation. And A Year at War. It's reversed. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, Claudine, for handing out the awards. I would like to ask Damon Winter and Alexandra Brachet to join Claudine for another interview about the multimedia in general and particularly on your projects. So please welcome again on stage Mr. Alan Little.
chairman of the first ever Multimedia Award. You heard there earlier on in the evening some doubts expressed about multimedia and the impact it was having on the purity of traditional photojournalism. Where is the traditional still image that can convey so powerfully on its own, without sound, without the clutter of text, without moving images? Where does it sit in the multimedia future?
I think that, I'm not sure it sits in the multimedia future, but it sat in a fantastic series of places which were, I think that the still images were actually devoted to print. And so there were prints on the walls and photos in magazines and book. And now we actually have switched from print to the screens. And so that's why we have this fantastic opportunity to add on, which again is not an obligation.
We were talking earlier about the nature of multimedia, and we both agreed that it's not really all that new. We talked about John Steinbeck and Robert Capa going to Russia in 1948 and collaborating text and the still image, and that it was a multimedia image.
Completely.
A multimedia project, rather.
Exactly, and I think that as much as Jodie Bieber mentioned collaboration with the subject, and I'm 100% with her on that, and multimedia actually allows that. But multimedia also means collaboration. You can collaborate, and I think that we have a good example here. You can collaborate with broadcast journalists. You can collaborate with a writer. You can make it an entire production and actually make it a team play. But also, Kadir was just telling me that he actually will try it all by his own, and I bet it will work.
Alexander,
so there's no rule.
Yeah. Alexander, tell me about how you conceive Prison Value. Congratulations on the prize, and why you thought it was best treated in a multimedia format.
I can only do multimedia things. I don't ask that question to me. I've done that for 10 years and maybe a bit more. But the question is to ask to the director or to the photographer, why are you coming into the internet? Are you ready to really know why are you on that screen and not on the paper or not on the TV? Are you already ready to share with people? Are you ready to invite the user to be at the center of the story? Are you ready to make non-linear? And in that case, Philippe Brault, which is one of the directors and which is a French photographer, he was one of the founders of the La République, and he is actually working with l'Agence Vue. He was immediately thinking that that story has to be told on the internet. So that was an evidence, and that's why it came to me.
I want to just say that Claudine read her notes out when she was giving the prizes from her iPhone, and I'm still using traditional technology, and that seems to be the difference between me and many of the other people in this room. Damon, congratulations also for a Year Award. Give me a sense of what you were able to get across to the audience that was consuming a Year Award that you wouldn't have been able to do in traditional formats.
Well, I think when this project was conceived, the whole idea was to go in depth and to get a really personal and long-term look at what it's like to serve a year abroad in the nation's military. I mean, I feel like personally, I talked about this before, that a lot of the coverage of the war feels very anonymous, and the multimedia fills in a lot of those gaps that we have in straight newspaper coverage.
By bringing what specifically? What type of content? What were you able to bring through multimedia that you wouldn't have been able to bring in more traditional?
Well, we have a lot of content on this interactive, and in addition to the main feature pieces that we have that incorporate video and still photography and audio, we are able to get the voices of the soldiers themselves, reactions from families, situations back home. We even did, there's one piece where we're dealing with how soldiers communicate with their families back home, and we have a team back in the United States watching the families talk via Skype with the soldiers in Afghanistan, and I'm on the other end in Afghanistan watching them talk with them. It's just all new media. It's just a whole new.
Claudia.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to go beyond numbers. Like in October, 7 billion people on this planet, and maybe even less gibbons. Maybe less than 20 gibbons. So someone has to tell these stories, and there are so many stories that haven't been told in a first-person engagement. And this story, for instance, which is a single father having chosen to do that job, you know, who told the story of a single father? You know, beyond even like the war and the context of his job. And I think that suddenly you do engage with the subject matter and really understand what life is about. And I believe that multimedia allows to be this, what I call accomplice diaries, where the subject is actually in a constant collaboration to raise an issue that can be a universal voice for all the others.
And what struck me, among many things, was how powerful the still image is when it's accompanied by the sound of the human voice. More powerful in some context than video of moving image and the human voice together. Is that something you're developing consciously?
Yeah, I mean, I am always and will always be a fan of the still image and the power of being able to sit on a moment and take it in and live in it and experience it for a period of time that you don't get with video, because video passes in the same speed of time that real life does, and those moments pass by in milliseconds.
You do the same. I saw your presentation earlier today, and there were some very powerful moments where you use the still image and people talking, and so you're able to focus on the intensity of that moment and at the same time absorb words that carry huge baggage of nuance and emotion. Is that something you're conscious of?
Yes, and this is the opportunity to tell several stories inside you have the main story, which is quite linear, and it was one of the innovations on the internet, because a lot of people say you have to do short on the internet. We did a 60-minute story on the internet, which is a broad movie, by the way. And then the opportunity to, if you want to take time and sit with some people for 15 minutes and just experience and I like emotion in the stories. And I think internet is really a good place for emotion.
It's a great place, but the one huge problem, money. How is this stuff going to pay for itself?
I think we should definitely ask him.
Everybody is really an amazing adventure. So at the beginning we came to, the two directors, Philippe Brault and David Leroy, came to me with that idea. Then I came to Arte, which is a French broadcaster. We're very, very innovative in interactive stuff. And so we finance it, maybe much more close than a movie than something else. So we did the average budget, we figured that the budget is 220,000 euros. So Arte said, okay, I will put 80,000 euros. We had CNC, we were looking for co-producer, the international market, and especially at IDFA, and I want to thank my friend Caspar Zoner, who lead the interactive part of IDFA here in Amsterdam, and he did an amazing job for that. And so we are trying to build an economical system, so it's still fragile, but it's growing up every day. And I know that Agence Vue, I'm sorry to tell you again, but I really like what they're doing. Actually, they really are pushing, to help us to continue to tell stories made by photographers on the internet.
We were talking earlier about the democratization of the internet. We haven't got much time left. Let me just ask you to address that. Is there a problem with this distinction between professional and amateur that we've been used to? Is there a problem with quality control? Is there a problem with the credibility, authority, the sourcing, the reliability of some of the journalism, photojournalism that appears on the internet and is instantly compared with what you do? Do you share those concerns?
Yeah, the earlier panel I think addressed it well when they talked about accountability, and when you start using photographs or any kind of content that's produced from people who are not trained, and there's no one to answer for that content. There's no one that you can go back to and ask, how is that produced? What are the intentions? What are your own personal interests? And that's very important, and that's why news organizations exist.
I feel that multimedia, in fact, empowers you in that sense, because it gives you the control of the story and its timeline and its deadline and its distribution. So you do become the master of ceremony, and you have the control of your content, and you can really refine it. And yes, quality control is a major issue, and fact-checking and the authenticity of the story is a major issue in multimedia and should stay that way. And that's why to have it embraced by World Press Photo, which always had that major issues, was essential.
Claudia Brooklyn, David Winter, Alexandre Brachet, thank you all very much indeed. Can I ask you to return to your seats, please? Ladies and gentlemen, I invite back onto the stage our musicians, Armen Franje, Michael Moore, this time to accompany the Dutch singer-songwriter Charlie Day with her personal lyrics, her ethereal voice. She's proven she can touch hearts. Tonight she sings Since He's Gone. Please welcome Charlie Day.
Wash my face, washed away the dirt that took away my grace. I found myself alive. I lived in a picture frame, my velvet glass oppressed my flame. I found myself alive. Since he's gone, 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 gone. Since he's gone. He loved me more than he could say. My anguished heart tucked away.
Carly Day, what an incredible voice. Thank you very much. Also, I would like to thank Ellen Little for conducting the interviews this evening. And there's only one award that remains. It's a tradition at World Press Photo that this award, the World Press Photo of the Year award, is presented by our patron, His Royal Highness Prince Constantijn of the Netherlands. So I would very much like to invite our patron, Prince Constantijn, to come on stage.
I wish it were 2008. I stood on this podium and handed the prize to an unusually talented, modest, and incredibly dedicated photojournalist. We talked about the importance of storytelling, the risk of being embedded with US troops in Afghanistan, his relentless drive, and the integrity of his work. I wish it were 2008, when we met again in Brussels. But it's 2011. 3 years of turmoil passed, which took a heavy toll. Tim Hetherington should have been here with us as jury of the Multimedia Award. But he chose to follow his passion for documenting the news. He and Chris Wondrous and many colleagues that are no longer with us today risk their lives to bring us the news every day. Driven by their uncompromising search for the truth. They shed light on the reality of our world with its violence and its injustice. We owe it to them not to turn a blind eye on the truth they disclosed. "2010 was a year of economic recovery. At least that's what I thought, till I joined one of the World Press Photo jury sessions. The thousands of images tell many different stories. 2010 was also a gruesome year, marred with natural and man-made disasters. These pictures speak for themselves. The jury did a great job in shifting through 10,000s or 100,000s of images, and it is a photographic library of a year of human and natural exhilaration and catastrophes. Of events widely covered, like the earthquake in Haiti, versus barely covered earthquake in Tibet, captured an image by Wang Yu, showing Tibetan monks preparing for the mass cremation of earthquake victims on a mountaintop in Yushu County. The selection also brings to life old customs like the freestyle wrestling in Bolivia, now also for women, as we saw. And relatively new social phenomena, such as social networks, pictures showing people reenacting themselves, their self-portraits they took for social networking site MySpace, and Michael Wolff's reportage of the incidents around the world seen through the lens of Google Street View. 4 months into 2011, it strikes me that 2010 is already so long ago. The tsunami and nuclear catastrophe in Japan presenting images that we've never seen before. Unexpected, grave civil unrest in Northern Africa and the Arab world, challenging the abuse of power and corruption and harnessing the unimaginable role of the internet. But also fierce attacks on journalists and the resulting shutdown of important objective information sources, as testified by World Press Photo winners Tyler Hicks and Lindsay Addario. This shows once again how vulnerable you are and how dependent we are on your courage to capture and present the news. Whereas 2011 came with a bang, 2010 has left us with big scars. like the earthquakes in Haiti, and the aftermath of many of the events portrayed here today. It is typical how a few months later we already forgot and have moved on to the next event. Just to take an example from closer from home, the center of L'Aquila in Italy is still a ghost town after the 2009 quake, but the news has moved on. Also, the city of New Orleans has demographically transformed dramatically in the years after Katrina, of which we hear close to nothing. This is why reportage is such an essential part of photojournalism. Yet budgets have been cut consistently over the last years. Whilst we are bombarded with global spot news, we seem to have less time for the aftermath and the deep societal impacts that these events have had. This year's winning picture brings back reportage to the front seat of headline news. It touches us as a metaphor for barbarism, in that it's universal, while at the same time it's an expression of a deep cultural divide that has dominated our politics for the last decade. In Dutch we say, if you damage your nose, your whole presence is damaged. These acts of barbarism have disfigured whole cultures. It is the great skill of the photographer to turn this victim into an assertive woman, looking at the world and challenging us, not showing her other mutilations, not seeking sensationalism, not blowing up the story. In this context, I would like to also commend Bibi Aisha for her courage to accept participating in this picture shoot and allowing her portrait to be published. We often forget that capturing an image and exposing someone can have severe and often unforeseen personal consequences too. Portraits rarely win big photojournalism prizes, and one should wonder why. As this image will stick with us, puzzling its viewers for many years. It connects the events we see in the news with the scars it leaves on people and societies, and over time its meaning will undoubtedly change. So allow me therefore to compliment the jury on its choice and congratulate Jody Bieber as the winner of the 2010 World Press Photo Main Prize. Ms. Bieber, may I invite you to come to the stage.
It's my pleasure to offer you the first copy of the World Press Photo Annual Catalogue 2011. One for His Royal Highness and one for Jody. Thank you. And thank you very much for presenting the award to Jody. Please, Jody, stay with me on stage. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, World Press Photo is blessed with a few very loyal sponsors. Our longest standing sponsor is Canon. For 19 years, Canon has generously supported our organization. In addition, each year Canon offers the World Press Photo Foundation or the World Press Photo winner their flagship camera. To do so this year, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Kieran McKay, the Director of Professional Imaging of Canon Europe. I wish the foundation gets a camera as well.
Your Royal Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, As Miguel has just said, Canon has been a proud supporter of WorldPress Photo for many, many years now. But actually, WorldPress Photo stands for so many positive things in developing young talent and in promoting best standards in photojournalism. And that is something Canon is very, very proud to be part of. I think probably many of you know Canon as a huge corporate, and we make products in all different areas, from TV lenses to medical products, printing products. But I think it would be fair to say that the DNA and the soul of the company is still very much photography. And this year, once again, this is now becoming a tradition, we would like to present one of our new technology products to the WorldPress Photo winner, whom I'm sure will have no problem exercising its full potential.
Three pieces, so thank you. Thank you, Kieran. I would like to invite Jody just to say a few words.
It's really in relation to this camera that I've just won, is that I've really been quite inspired by the multimedia. And I think that's the use that I'm going to use from this camera. Is the video aspect of it. Thank you very much. I'm sure you won't believe me, but I was delivered to the doorstep tonight by an Afghan taxi driver. And I said to, I couldn't believe it really, and I said to him that I can't concentrate. I know this concert hall is not far away, but, you know, could you get me here? And he said, why are you so nervous? And I said, well, I don't know if you've seen this photograph, and I showed him the photograph of Aisha, but, you know, I've won quite a prestigious award. And he spoke about his horror, what happened to Aisha. And at the same time, he said to me, because I was very nervous, he said, if you've been to Afghanistan, the audience that you're going to speak to should be absolutely fine. I should have no worries. So this isn't really a speech. It's just details I'm not very eloquent with. I think the first thing, I don't think all of you know that I've had a very strong relationship with WorldPress Photo. In 1996, I was nominated on the masterclass. I am a South African photographer. We didn't have internet at the time, and really I had no concept of a publication or how, you know, the agencies at that time used to work, or what really a picture editor was besides Robin Comley at the Star. And I had also covered the 1994 elections, the first democratic elections, and it's symbolic in a way that I stand here today because in 1994 I lost my colleagues. The first man to give me a break, who was Ken Oosterbroek, and Gary Bernard, who was on the masterclass, who was at the Market Photography Workshop with me, committed suicide, and Kevin Carter committed suicide, and Abdul Sharif killed himself. So when I arrived at the airport, another significant symbol for me is the meeting point. I've only been ever collected at that venue, and the first time was by Arpad for the masterclass, and the second time is now by Michel for this award. And I came here very insecure. You know, when you're coming from South Africa, you're not exposed to as many, I'm talking about in 96. There was a very strong tradition of photography, and it was used against apartheid. But we weren't really exposed, or I wasn't, to the international world. And I arrived quite post-traumatized from losing people that meant a lot for me. And I just photographed, the subject was neighbors, and I photographed as my project, Gangsterism in Westbury. It's an area in South Africa. And here I was so blessed to be sitting with photographers like Paolo Pellegrin, Gigi Cohen, Zana Brisky, who won the documentary in the Oscars. And it really made me feel, as a South African, that I had arrived. And it was very, very special for me because it also gave me the opportunity to really understand how the international world of photography works. And from there, it was very, very easy to gain access. I took advantage. I went all over Europe and I went to New York. And because I was a photographer from South Africa, magazines and picture editors were very interested to meet me. And I took the opportunity of having that masterclass in World Press behind me. And I covered the elections in 1994. And by 1996, I left the newspaper because I wanted to do slightly more in-depth work. And the international community, the magazines, had the funding to do that. And since then, I've won quite a few World Press Awards. In total now it's 10. But I'm not so, I don't know what it is. It's helped me to remain on the map in a way where maybe my confidence level to be business orientated hasn't existed. So I really have to thank World Press, and especially for photographers. I'm not taking it away from my European and American colleagues, but for people coming from the developing world, it's a very important foundation. So I thank you for that. Can we please have the photograph? I'm going to speak now more around Aisha. Just to let you know that I'm very close to the foundation, Women for Afghan Women, who look after Aisha. And 3 days ago, they took this photograph for me. So it's a very current photograph of her in New York. I know there are many people in the audience that have a lot of questions, and I think that it's only fair in a way to tell you about the whole process around the photograph and where Aisha is today. And it very much starts off when I was in New York going to see Kira Pollock at Time magazine. And if anyone knows my work's shifted slightly. It's a lot around breaking stereotypes, and I showed her my book Soweto, and I also showed her a project Real Beauty, which is about women in their underwear, but it really deals with very many different issues around our body. And I thought nothing of it because I don't really see myself as a news photographer, and I left and it was lovely to see Kira. And a little while afterwards she phoned me to say, I have an assignment for you. I'd like you to go and photograph different women, portraits of different women living in Kabul. Erin Baker was really the mastermind behind that. She's the writer. She managed to find Aisha and every other woman that I photographed. I went to Afghanistan, and for me it's very important that with portraits, it was really an ideal assignment for me. With portraits, I managed to get the telephone numbers from Erin, and I collaborate in such a way is that I ask the woman if they can speak English, or through my translator, very much where they would like to be photographed. Where's a place that has meaning for them? And just to give you a little bit more, that Aisha wasn't the only woman I photographed. I photographed the Oprah Winfrey of Afghanistan. I photographed women politicians. I went to the immolation hospital and photograph victims were women who had tried to kill themselves by burning themselves. I photographed a documentary photographer, a filmmaker. So it was a variety of different women in different circumstances. And with Aisha, it was more controlled in the way that I couldn't speak to her beforehand. And I arrived at Women for Afghan Women's Shelter in Kabul. And I had a discussion. The director knew I was coming. And I have to say, Kira hasn't said anything to me, but I really think that, you know, I wasn't the first photographer to photograph Aisha or the first journalist to do that. And I really think that Aisha and the organization made a decision to see the media because they wanted to get a visa to get to America. They wanted her to go there so she could get her nose reconstructed. So I think there wasn't any form of victimization there, definitely not. And so the director said to me that Aisha suffers from post-traumatic stress, and if at any point she was uncomfortable with the shoot, we would have to stop. And I was with Shah, he was a lovely guy, my translator, and there was a social worker, and we went into a very nondescript room. It had a red carpet, a fan, and that's it. And that became really photographically difficult because, as I said, I like it when something around you speaks about a person. And I think maybe I wasn't horrified. If you know my work again, I've worked quite extensively on quite difficult subjects like domestic violence, women who have been raped in the Congo, and therefore I take on an approach of looking at a person as a person. And I think that's what I tried to do with Aisha. And I started photographing her. Someone said to me, did I remove a burqa and anything like that? Absolutely not. It wasn't in a portrait studio. How she was dressed is exactly how I photographed her. It was natural light, a tripod, and one camera with a standard, I used an 85 lens. And I could see that the shoot wasn't going that well because I tried to capture, or hope to capture the essence of who I'm photographing. And so I put down the camera, and I've said this a lot, but I think it's important to know, maybe some of you don't know this. And I really just had a girl-to-girl conversation because I noticed how beautiful she was. And I said through the translator that I'd love to collaborate, to take a picture, to show that inner beauty, to show her power, for her to sort of, not forget, you can't forget, but just for that moment to just be this young, beautiful woman. And that's when I took the photograph. The shoot lasted about 2 or 3 hours, and then I went to photograph Sakina, who was also staying in the shelter, and a child bride. And more from a photographic perspective, where we've been speaking around multimedia and is it right for a portrait to... Oh, I did forget, one thing. That yes, it did reference Steve McCurry's photograph, because many people have asked me. And I consciously did that. So it is true that you will think of his photograph when you look at Aisha. But I go back to now when I've left the room and said goodbye to Aisha, my brain started ticking over because here I am, a photojournalist, and I've sort of referenced Steve McCurry's picture. I've sort of kind of brought myself into this photograph. And it's not just a record or the fly on the wall scenario. And I started doubting myself. I didn't ask her to move her hair behind her ears. She doesn't have ears either. I didn't try and photograph her in a very vulnerable way. I wanted the power. And I went upstairs to the director's office and I phoned the writer and I said, I think that I failed. I think that maybe Time magazine will not like my image because it's not in a way, a traditional photograph of how us as photojournalists would generally take a photograph. And I think it fits very much into my work about breaking down stereotypes. And the more that I've had to, since the photograph was published in Time, I really am before the camera often now. And it's made me think very clearly or a lot about my work. And I've got a mental block. No, I'm sorry, I totally have forgotten it. But also, I want to say around this photograph, for me it's very brave that the jury chose us. Firstly, a portrait. In many people in our industry, it's not seen as photojournalism. And I think we're in a period of time now where it's exciting. I think that the galleries are embracing our kind of work. I think there's a fusion. I think there's, for the multimedia, by incorporating and working with people, I think it's very interesting times. And I wouldn't be so traditional or scared of using this, as long as it's used with dignity and I suppose with, that you're not putting the person at risk. Aisha is now in New York. I'm in very close contact with the organization that looks after her, Women for Afghan Women. They don't allow any media anywhere near her. And I can understand that because I'm in the media and it really is quite stressful to be on live interviews and for people asking you very difficult questions. And she hasn't had the reconstruction yet because of her psychological state right now. So whenever she goes out, she wears the prosthetic nose. I've been told that she doesn't really know about what's happening in the world. And she goes shopping in New York and, she beads jewelry. And that's very much her life. But it was very interesting because this photograph here, as you can see, and if anyone does use this in their publications, please, can you credit Women for Afghan Women, because they don't want to think that one media house is getting in when they're really trying to protect her. I'm also going to take this time to ask you now, there is the Bibi Aisha Fund, and all the money through the Bibi Aisha Fund, which you can Google, if you put some money in there, it goes directly to the living expenses of Bibi in New York. I've also created with my gallery an artist edition of 8 prints with 2 artist-proof prints, and the money for those prints will all go to the Bibi Aisha Fund. Myself and the gallery will take nothing. So, this is another way that I'm hoping, to help out in a way. And this photograph for me, I think it's very brave of World Press, and this is what I was going to say, of the jury members, because it is a war, and it's a war really against women, and it happens all over the world, and it's a war about violence against women. And I think that, sometimes it's so hidden from us that I'm hoping that this will be a symbol, for the plight of women. And that's where I see it. The controversy around the photograph, I view it in a very different way. When you showed the Time magazine cover in South Africa, people only saw Bibi Aisha because it's not our politics. We have other things going on. They didn't even take notice really of the headline. They saw Bibi Aisha without a nose, and that's what they saw. And as a photographer, what I've learned, that controversy actually helped to create a discussion that needed to happen. even though it wasn't necessarily about her nose, it was, and about her abuse. It was a discussion that needed to happen. And finally, I mean, there's so much more I could say, but I think it's enough. But I do have to speak about Anton. Sorry, it's very important. Can we have a photograph, please? This is Anton Hamill. He's a South African photographer. He's married. He has 2 children. He's just had a little baby. He has been missing in Libya for 35 days. And I'm pleading with my family, which is the international community, that it's not only fair to write about, please help, let's help our community stay alive. And I really urge you, if you have on your Lens blogs or whatever there is, I would really like you to write about this, because by writing about it, we're going to keep him alive. And I just want to say, as a woman and a South African, I'm very proud to accept my award. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us some more insight in your motivations and why you do what you do. Thank you also for your nice words about World Press and what it did for your career. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the conclusion of the 2011 World Press Photo Award ceremony. And before we close, I would like to thank all of you photographers for sharing with us year after year these inspirational images, powerful, and share it with us time and time again. I would like to have a big hand for all the photographers here, and please join me. Our organization would not be able to exist without our institutional partners, Canon, TNT, and the National Postcode Lottery. Their belief in our mission, their belief in power of photography, and their absolute commitment to our organization are crucial. We are very proud and grateful to have such loyal partners. And dear friends, since you're all here with me tonight, I would very much like to invite you for a drink to celebrate with me my 31st anniversary, my birthday yet again. But before we do that, I would like again to ask you to stay seated and wait before His Royal Highness and Her Royal Highnesses will leave the premises first. Thank you very much for your attention. Hope you enjoyed